I'm next pleased to recognize Mr. Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Chairman. Thanks, everybody, for being here today. I was fortunate enough to arrive early yesterday, and Sheriff Terry Mettinger, who's here with us, Sheriff, was very generous with his time and was able to take myself and a couple of staff people on a tour of the area all the way up to the border, and I certainly appreciate that. We had a great discussion on kind of what's going on logistically and kind of the inner workings, I guess, of all the different levels of law enforcement and how they deal with you know, not only enforcement, but I think kind of cooperative efforts when it comes to the border. Patrol Agent Andrew Mazzaro, I don't know that Andrew made it today, with the U.S. Border Patrol, fabulous briefing, gave us a lot of information, and certainly kind of an overview of all the ports of entry. So I thought it was very valuable, and I wanted to thank him as well. And Ms. Davis, I wish you were with us yesterday, because when we went up to the port of entry, I could have put those Homeland Security guys kind of on their heels with those questions that you asked earlier. So we'll see if we can't help follow up on some of that stuff. I think it would be valuable. I guess where I wanted to start was with the Attorney General. You kind of touched on a little bit, but there are many levels, obviously, of law enforcement, and it's kind of it's a puzzle. But you know, at the end of the day, you still have to be able to come up with the resources to fund all these different levels of law enforcement. And I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about your view, kind of from the AG's level, on and how that filters down.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Fitzgerald, well, in North Dakota, federal law enforcement is under-personed, I'll say. We got great agents, but there aren't enough of them. And without dovetailing together federal, state, local, tribal law enforcement, you wouldn't have meaningful, impactful enforcement in North Dakota. So thankfully, people work together well here. The sheriffs work well together. Our BCI has statewide reach and works well with the police departments, the sheriff's departments, and then the federal entities that are here. But the one that sticks out to me glaringly all the time is that the BIA is so grotesquely understaffed and underfunded. And I think part of that is historically because they're through the Interior Department as opposed to through the Department of Justice, where there can be some coordination, understanding, and deploying of the resources. The agents that are here, the BIA agents that are here, are very good, but they rotate through. Well, that's a different question, but it creates a real lapse that has to be filled and is filled by our sheriff's departments. Do a tremendous job around the state, working well together in their own counties and with each other, and same with the police departments. And we try to be part of that glue that makes it stick together too. But you know, there are real glitches, I think, in the funding mechanisms for federal enforcement. And I won't speak on behalf of the Department of Justice in this instance, but I know that they could use more resources, and we could use them as well.
Thank you. Very good. Ms. Davis, I want to kind of go back to your topic again, because in Wisconsin, I represent the 5th District, is the west suburbs of Milwaukee, and a couple of counties, Dodge and Jefferson County, that are very rural. But our state itself had $8.5 billion in goods that were moved through the export market. So I know it's a huge issue, really, for everybody. And I'm sure some states don't even realize that. But this inadequate staffing, I think, is not something I've just heard here, but also when you're at the southern border for some of those ports of entry as well. So can you just tell us, kind of with the reduced hours that you were talking about earlier, kind of, have you seen this happen gradually, or was it just something that happened all of a sudden and then you had to deal with the impact of that as the Chamber of Commerce?
Mr. Fitzgerald and Chairman, I believe what happened was everything shut down for COVID, and then when the rest of the world essentially, or at least the rest of the U.S., went back to normal, the northern border was essentially forgotten about. The border was opened back up to reduced hours, being 5 in Maida, 4 in Nichey, and 6 in Walhalla, and then they just were like, oh, you're good. you don't need any additional people
Right.
when we do have the traffic and we are losing out on that. So I think it was just a sudden thing that once COVID happened, they shut the border down and then they brought it back, but the rest of the world went back to normal and we were just forgotten.
Yeah, and that's kind of similar to what I think we heard yesterday in the discussions we had. To the two sheriffs. When Border Patrol agents from North Dakota are detailed to process illegal aliens who enter through the southwest border, those agents are obviously not performing kind of daily functions. Do you feel like in your integration to kind of those different levels of law enforcement, do you guys feel like there are adequate resources there? Or are you watching, Border Patrol kind of have to, not complete all those tasks, so that falls on you guys? I was wondering if you could just comment on that.
Sure, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Fitzgerald. Whenever the Border Patrol agent has to sit in his office and virtually process someone on the southern border, I appreciate the fact that it's saving the federal government some money by not having to TDY him down to the southern border.
Right.
But he is not out on patrol. He sits there for his whole shift processing migrants that are coming across the southern border, and he's not out on patrol. So if they still have people that are TDY down there, or they're sitting in the office and not able to leave, they're not out there patrolling.
Very good. Sheriff, do you have a comment on that one?
Mr. Chairman and Mr. Fitzgerald, yes, thanks for the question. For us, not being a border county, we're a little bit different because we're a little bit farther away from the border, so it takes those resources a little bit of time to get to us. When we come into contact with people that are in the country illegally, literally what we're looking for and assistance from those agencies is to be able to maybe conduct a translation for us if we don't have resources to do that, but then also to help us verify criminal histories, because I think everyone here on the subcommittee understands that when we run a criminal history check on someone, we're checking them through our resources that are United States wide, NCIC, quiz. We don't have access to checking criminal histories like our federal partners do. And so for us as sheriffs, like I mentioned earlier in my testimony, it's important to us that we can protect our citizens in the counties that we serve. And without understanding what people's criminal histories are and being given the direction to, that they can't do anything, that we should just let them go, that doesn't give us a good feeling, because now we're letting someone go and we don't have any idea who they are. So that's become a problem. I think it's a resource issue, like I mentioned before. Again, when we talk to our Border Patrol partners, the boots on the ground, they're not telling us simply, hey, we don't want to help you. They're simply saying that they can't, or they don't have the resources, they don't have the time to come and do that. And so that's where we run into these issues. And in my particular situation where I was referring to Apsaraka, I was able to get a hold of ERO through that process, which is, as you guys know, the enforcement branch of deportation of ICE and Border Patrol. The ICE agent that I spoke with was very helpful. They did eventually come out to assist me at the residence. The same with our U.S. attorney was very helpful. It was just a lack of resources on Border Patrol's end of things.
Very good. Thank you all for being here. I yield back.
Great, thank you.